Unpopular opinion.
Glenn, you're still in.
Yeah. Oh, I thought I left. I didn't leave. Huh? Oh, okay.
Yeah, you didn't leave.
I thought I left and I came back.
Wait, hang on.
Ah.
You see, this is what it is, you know, when you two guys can't come into the studio, and then we have all these issues, you know. And, well, anyway, for all the viewers and listeners back at home, I can tell you this much. They were in, they were out, and now they're back in again, but we're glad to have them back. So, Glenn and the Flying Dutchman back on Kopi with Chris for this edition of this program. So now, I see on Glenn's head, he said earlier, making radio great again because what was it you were saying?
I said because, we left radio for a while. I think it was about 6 months. And then, while we were away, radio was obviously shit because, I was tuned in every day. And the people who took over, our slots, absolutely shit, even till today. So, when we were welcomed at SPH Radio, they gave us these caps.
Okay, because they felt that you guys could make radio great again.
No. They didn't feel that we could make radio great
again. Here we go.
They knew we could make radio great again.
Right.
So,
there's no feel here.
I am not going to argue with that because I do agree with you. When you guys left, it was as if cobwebs were growing where radio was concerned at that time. I have to admit that. I'm not going to go and diss you about this shit because you're right, Glenn. You're right.
Thanks, you know why you're saying this, not Chris?
And not because you're my friends. I know you're going to go there.
Yeah.
I know you're going to go. Not because you're my friends.
We've always loved each other from primary.
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
primary one.
Sure. So, which is where, since you brought this up, I am 50 years old.
So
Glenn and I were classmates. Okay, so now the whole world knows. He's not as young as you think he is. But then again, sweetheart. He's a real sweetheart. Always have been. So now the thing is you guys came back to radio, and it was shit for 6 months, and I agree. I'm not going to disagree with it because besides you being my friends, I'm quite discerning, There will be people I would listen to, people that I would support, regardless of whether they're my friends or not, if the show is good. The show is good. Your show is good. As you can see, I have finger diarrhea in the mornings when you guys on live Facebook.
I have noticed. I
mean, fuck. I mean, come on. Some of the shit that, that you guys bring up, and what are some of the crap that some people actually put out, it's something I just cannot agree with sometimes. And I'm opinionated, so I'm going to have my say. But it's good because I enjoy that. And if I enjoy it, means your radio show is great.
Well, I'm glad that we give you that avenue to have your say. And I think that's one of the things about the show that is special. People do get to have their say, and especially when it comes to Glenn. I've always said this about Glenn. Glenn gets on radio and says what the average Singaporean wants to say, but doesn't say.
It's very funny you said that, bro. It's very funny you said that. Because I have a feeling that there are supporters of a particular group of people, not on radio, on podcasts, who are, and they support them vehemently. Maybe it's because these guys are saying things they can't say, expressing things they can't. So what's the difference, man?
Absolutely.
Between Glenn Ong and you, FD?
Yeah.
Giving people an avenue, and even Glenn, as you said, Glenn especially, giving people an avenue as a people's DJ to have their say versus what actually happens in a podcast like the one I've just mentioned.
Okay, I think. You go ahead first. I've got something.
I just want to say something. There is a difference, right? Because everyone who's on radio, and I'm talking about radio stations across all the channels, right? Mm-hmm. We are national broadcasters. FD and myself are national broadcasters.
Right.
Okay. You are a podcaster.
Okay.
So we have to play by the rules. Yeah. There are rules.
Sure.
Okay, just like recently, I mean, there was this bit of news, 3X radio or 3X national broadcasters.
That's exactly what I'm referring to.
Exactly, right? So they are running free right now and wild because they're doing the things and saying things that they were never allowed to say
on their show.
So national broadcasters can push the envelope to a certain point, but we have to stop. Why? Because we follow MDA's guidelines. We have to sign the MDA booklet with the rules every 3 months.
Right.
Okay? So it comes with
every
a responsibility.
This is something that a lot of people don't know. Even I didn't know that.
They don't know.
Yeah.
So
there are rules
every 3 months, what do you have to sign? What do you have to sign off
so
on?
basically,
it's like a rule book.
Yeah. Okay. A declaration.
A declaration, that we will follow the rules and these are the rules.
Right.
Okay.
Because we are national broadcasters.
An example? Sure, but can you give us an example of what those rules are?
Wow. Okay, for example, we cannot play psychologist on air.
Okay. That's fair because you're not qualified.
Because we're not trained. We're not trained. Yeah. And that's one of the most simple rules. But honestly, if you want to go through all the rules, give us 4 of your podcasts. We'll deal with it. Because there are a lot of rules.
Basically, Chris, the rules that we have to go through serves to remind us that as national broadcasters, we have the responsibility to ensure that we do not start a racial issue, a political issue, a religious issue because of how small we are as a country. So just to remind all of us that whatever we do, whatever we say, be responsible.
Yeah.
Because whatever comes out of our mouths can cause major damage to a country that we have all worked so hard to build. And that is the responsibility that we keep with us every single day when we go on air. And
agreed.
And I am just so afraid, and I spoke to you earlier on, the problem with podcasting and podcasters is that while there are good podcasters out there, there are also idiots out there who think they can be podcasters. And these are the dangerous people. These are the very, very dangerous people because things that they say, that they put out just for the sake of getting people to listen to them, could cause major damage. So as much as podcasting is growing at this tremendous pace right now, it's becoming one of the most popular mediums. Some people are even saying, look, with podcasting, who needs radio? Podcasting could destroy itself as quickly as it rose as a result of not having guidelines. Because all it takes is 1 or 2 people to destroy podcasters in general.
And I think that is something that podcasters need to look out for here in Singapore, because your governance is so lax.
See, I'm listening to the word that you just raised, and based on also what Glenn has just said, governance is so lax. Well,
you may end up in a situation where laws are created that will now curb you.
Basically regulated, right?
Yeah.
So how do you feel about this? You're saying it may happen. I'm saying that if this were to happen, this is my opinion. If this were to happen again by quote unquote Glenn Ong, the idiots who just cannot do podcasts, and they come out here and they're flagrant about it. And it just, being irresponsible. And I'm not disagreeing. Being fucking irresponsible.
Yeah.
Screw up the entire thing for us. Yeah. And I know this because in every industry, there will be people like that. And that's where it can happen, where regular authorities come in and then things get regulated. But my opinion is that if this were to happen again on a podcast platform by an idiot or idiots, then we are running the risk because we're putting ourselves on the radar already because of what just happened.
Yeah.
I'm not going to disagree. But however, that being said, I would like to draw some comparisons. Your national radio, you have a responsibility, and yeah, you do. We didn't build our nation with our bare hands to see, to be responsible for tearing it down or tearing the fabric of society and community down. For sure. Any community for that matter, even the cat people. But then that being said, cat people are important. Okay, don't play a fool. Okay, Glenn Ong, you joker, you. Every now and then hunt down the fellas. Anyway, the fact is that you can see the growing interest, and just much like what FD said about Glenn. Glenn says things, the people's DJ, he says things that people don't wish they could say. This little repression going around, human beings. Yeah? I wish I could say this. Just go against, just be out there, not be so too politically correct and just say it. Likewise, these guys, I'm not a proponent for them, please, these guys use that as a platform as well. Same
Absolutely.
thing.
That is because these guys, I agree with you totally, Chris.
And their following is not small. Podcast followings are not small either. So the responsibility is also going to be held by people, like even me.
Yes.
Right? But there is a fine thin line, FD. That thin line is you can't really be overly expressive in your show.
The point is, people, and we've seen this with other radio DJs, and we are seeing it with podcast DJs. People want to be another Glenn Ong. And I am going to say, I'm going to say this to you.
No, Glenn Ong is not a shock job.
You don't have the brain or the talent to do it. And that's what Glenn has.
Glenn Ong is not a shock job.
He's not.
Okay? Yeah. The point is that we have to understand the difference here. We got idiots. And I would say, I would say what Glenn, I would use the term Glenn has just used. We have idiots who come behind a microphone and a computer screen or video camera and just go all the way shock jock. Yeah? That is just not on. Not in this culture. Whether it's the Singapore culture, whether it's the Asian culture, it's just not on. Yeah. But then again, we cannot also bring ourselves down to mainstream media level, where everything is structured, where everything is formatted. You call your show a formatted radio station, right? And it has got to be free flowing. It's got to be kind of raw, but agree, it has to be responsible.
Is that fair? Yes, that is fair. You have to be able to put out a show, say what you want to say, but think before you speak.
Sure.
And take responsibility for everything you say.
So given now that what I've just said to both of you, and what Glenn said earlier to me before we started the show, Glenn, you said that the life of podcasting can be cut short, right? But given what I've just said, and me agreeing with you, what do you think? Is it still going to be cut short? Would someone like me have my show stopped?
Look, I'm going to be very honest because I'm usually very, very honest when it comes to sort of things, just to cut the crap, right? You're a good friend of mine. I know you, and I know what you're capable of and what you're not capable of. And I am 100% certain that you are capable of being a host of a podcast show like this, okay? But there are many people out there who have no experience, who may not necessarily have the right reasons for starting a podcast. As you said, they could be loose cannons. There could be a reason for them wanting to go out there and say things, perhaps maybe to undermine certain organizations or whatever. This is the reason why I say that podcasting, if not regulated properly, right, could be gone in the next few years, because all it takes is for a few people to go on and cause major damage for the authorities in each country to go, okay, that's it. no more podcasting, or let us implement, let's say, podcast licenses, for example, because just like casinos here in Singapore, you pay $100 if you're a Singaporean to get into the casino. That has worked tremendously because not many Singaporeans want to pay $100. But if you say there's no fee whatsoever, every single Singaporean would be just walking into the casino. So what I'm saying here is, if you're a serious podcaster and you're proud of what you're doing, maybe it'll be a good idea to say, okay, let's implement a podcast license fee. Not much, but enough to prove that you are serious about what you're doing. Like what you're doing right now, Chris. Okay?
You know, Glenn, I've agreed with you that podcasters got to be more responsible. I mean, have some common sense, yeah. But the thing is I know how it's like to be in a regulated business.
Right? Welcome to our world.
No, yeah, sure. Then this is where podcasting can lose its essence. I am against being regulated.
Okay.
I am for a guideline of stuff being given and say, okay, guys, stay within these parameters. And so long and in as so far that I can still be, hey, this is fucking sweet, and I can still say what I've just said.
Right.
And it's still cool.
Okay.
Because it's not directed at anyone.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not stepping on any toes. It's not stepping on community. We're not going to be so sanitized. The worry is that. So when we have regulations, this is where it becomes too sanitized. What is the difference, therefore, between mainstream media and podcasting? There's got to be a certain balance somewhere.
You took the words right out of my mouth, actually. What's the difference between radio broadcasting and podcasting?
That's the problem. You see, you and I have the same damn education. You see, that's the problem.
Loads of differences. We are trained, to think before we say anything. Because we're signing the MDA guidelines. I'm almost thinking, right, in order to make sure that everything is equal, podcasters will have to also sign the MDA guidelines. Let me just give you an example of how dangerous podcasting is in this country, okay? Let's just say there are only 2 podcasters in this country. You and I, Chris. Both of us, right? We love being controversial from time to time. We love saying what's on our minds, okay? But I am a little bit more brazen than you are, okay? So you're thinking to yourself, I'm a responsible podcaster. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I'm a responsible podcaster as well, but I want to push the envelope a little bit more, not like those loser radio DJs, who are, they're just fakes. They're pretending like they're controversial jocks, but actually no, they're governed.
Tell me who, man. Tell me who. Say it.
They're governed by rules.
You're more brazen than me. Say it, man. Come on, tell me who. Tell me who.
Let's just say
what
we want because we're
I'm listening, but he's not saying. He's just not saying. He's not saying, man.
Okay, so
you're saying.
You're sticking to your deal, right, Chris? And then I go overboard. I say something that causes racial riots here in Singapore. I'm just saying, okay? There are only 2 podcasters, you and I. Okay, yeah. So you're sticking to your guns and you're doing, what you said you would do. You would put it on, but you would not go overboard. And then I, on the other hand, a fellow podcaster, I go overboard and I cause major racial riots in this country. Just an example.
Yeah.
And then the government comes in and goes like, oh my God, we didn't know that something like this could cause so many problems, And then they go, okay, I think maybe podcasting is not a good idea. Maybe we should just stick to radio,
See, this is where.
So what I'm saying here, Chris, is it's not you. It's the many other podcasters out there who may not be as responsible as you, who might cause.
But again, as I said, there's got to be a balance. I think it's got to do with maturity of the people who come in. And he doesn't.
but-
no,
but
hang on. I know. He's shaking his head. Wait,
No, I
let
agree
me-
with
let me
FD.
finish. It's got to do with the maturity of people. When
No,
you
it's
get-
it's
it doesn't.
not that.
Regulations don't help.
It's not that, Chris. Let me just give. I'm going to go off on a tangent here, okay? Simple thing like COVID-19. You need to wear a mask.
Yeah.
Oh, kids are going back to school. Do they need to wear a mask? That's the question asked.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going into phase 2. Do we need to wear a mask? Use your bloody common sense. And it's
True.
because they don't use common sense that people like you will end up getting into trouble.
So you're saying that what happens if there's so many people out there without common sense, and what happens if they get behind a microphone? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm
Okay.
saying. And
I
a
don't
lot of them
think-
do not have that common sense.
But I don't think we're going to have a lot of these kind of people who say, you know what, tomorrow I'm going to be a podcaster. I don't think that's going to happen. There will be some who will slip through. And those guys will be found out.
Let's
They
say
will
we
be
have
found out. Just like,
let's say,
you know, if
let's say
you
we
do
have
the crime,
50,
you do the time, you'll be found out. You know, there will be those like that.
let's say we have 50 podcasters in Singapore
Yeah.
and 15 of them have no common sense.
Take a look at just what happened to those 3 guys we were talking about. Yeah, you know who I'm talking about. People actually stepped up. People stepped up. They made a hell of a lot of noise, right? And to the point where the president got involved. The president had something to say about it, as well as and some ministers too. So how do we? What do you guys have been in the business long? You know, at least in mainstream radio. How do we then balance this outside of regulations?
It's not about
Give me
balancing
something
it.
else.
It's
Give me
not
something
about
else.
It's not about balancing it.
Because
Yeah,
look,
Chris,
man, if you want accountability, it cannot just come because of reward and punishment, and rules and punishment, and therefore there is accountability.
Well, why
Can
don't you
there be
guys?
something else?
Why don't you guys now, before problems are created, take on these people who have no responsibility? You responsible podcasters, take them on.
So that's your suggestion. Take them on.
Take them on and show
nip it
them
in
where
the
they're
bud.
wrong. Show them where they're wrong. Let the audience see how bad they are. Because right now they're doing their podcast. There's nothing to compare.
You guys sound really angry with these guys, huh?
I am.
Really?
I am,
Glenn, how
because-
about you? Glenn, are you angry at them?
No, I just want it to be regulated because I'm just afraid that if something were to happen, it'll be too late. That's all.
I don't want to air this show, man. I don't want to air this show, man.
I don't see podcasters as competition because, I feel just like radio presenters, right? If you step out of line, you get fired. That's it. If you cause any major problems within the community based on the words that's coming out of your mouth, because the tongue has a lot of power. We all know that. The power is in the tongue. And that's the reason why it is so important that the person who is doing a podcast or the person who is presenting a radio show has the correct mentality, the correct attitude, the right character to not divide society, but to unite us.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
So as much as we've been in a lot of trouble, FD and myself and all that, right?
Yeah.
At
Tell
the
me
back
about
of
that.
our minds, we know
No,
how
tell me about it. Tell me about the
far to
trouble.
go.
Tell me about the trouble. Glenn, you said just now that you and FD probably amongst all the radio DJs in Singapore had got into most trouble.
Yeah.
Because
Let me just tell you how
speak our
difficult it is.
minds.
Let me just tell you how difficult it is, Chris.
So when you speak your mind, you get
Go
in
out
trouble.
there. Okay, we at
If it
our
breaks the
peak
rules.
at our peak, we had 900,000 people. All right, 900,000 listeners every single week. All right? And all it took, as controversial and as straightforward as we were when it came to topics and situations and stuff like that we would bring up on air, all it took was one complaint, Chris.
Yeah.
Okay, which is why I feel like you'll have a hard time if you were a radio presenter. Because all it takes is for one person to complain to the Media Development Authority, one person out of 900,000, okay? And you're in trouble.
and they have to act on it.
You're under investigation.
Which is the reason why I feel that
it is.
That's the thing.
The
You just said
here
it.
is, I understand, Chris. You're a person who hates more regulation than you feel is necessary.
Correct. I agree with having regulations, but how much of it?
Unfortunately, with what is happening, and we saw it with a certain group of people, with what is happening, regulation almost seems inevitable. And how is that going to constrict someone who knows how to do a decent podcast like yourself?
You know, Chris, it's a bloody joke.
That's the problem you face.
It's a bloody joke if you have the President of the Republic of Singapore coming in to ask a bunch of podcasters to apologize. It's a bloody joke.
That should never have happened.
It's ridiculous. The only reason why, it's because, our president is a beautiful, understanding lady. If I were the president, I don't know what I would have done.
Yeah.
But that's a bloody joke.
Okay. So you're saying this because of the sense of responsibility that podcasters should actually have present at all times, not because they're your competition.
No, Chris, you see, those were 3 ex-radio presenters,
Yeah, and they stated.
They should
again,
have known better.
I'm not saying I'm not the proponent because of what I'm saying, what I'm about to say.
No, this is addictive, Chris. It's addictive. The reason why they did what they did and they will continue to do what they do is because they were number 1 on the list. It is addictive. When you're number 1, you do everything and anything to stay at number 1, not just for a moment, but for as long as you can. And the only way to do that is to continue to be controversial, right? And as I always say, it's very easy, and FD will agree with me. It's so easy to be controversial. It's easy. It's the easiest thing in the world. But is that the most responsible thing?
No, it's not.
That's the thing, you see?
How far are you going to push? Which is why I'm saying I agree. But then again, I'm trying to make you understand that the reason why people don't or leave mainstream media to come into podcasting is because there has got to be a certain amount of slack given. No. Because you guys are so used, as I said earlier, we can't speak our minds.
I beg to disagree. If people go from mainstream media into podcasting, it's because they want to attempt to say whatever they want, whenever they want, to whomever they want.
That's being irresponsible. But
that
if we're
is
talking
exactly
about,
why they do it.
Well, if we're talking about, and I like to prove this fact, that there will be podcasters, and I hope to think I'm one of them, right? And I don't intend to be irresponsible in any way, but there are people like me who would like to have a little bit more slack given in a show and yet still have the common sense to balance things.
I've listened to your show.
And because there are people like me, right, who will feel a noose around my neck, despite the fact that there are efforts to try to balance the show. So people like me will feel, bloody hell, why am I the one paying the price?
Let me ask you this then. You feel that now on your show there's a noose around your neck?
No.
Exactly my point. So you see, you're getting your message across. You're doing what you want to do, but because you have a brain, you know how to do it.
Sure.
Exactly.
But
that's what I'm saying as well.
When regulations, or if regulations ever come in,
they will not affect you. They will not affect you.
No, it will. Because I tell you, there will be certain areas upon which they're going to say things that you can't do this, you can't do that. And this is the things that I've been doing, and I don't see anything wrong with that. And
give us one thing. I've watched your show. I've watched your show. Give me one thing that you think.
Okay, Chris, stop the expletives.
Me too. Yeah.
Okay, because I mean, is that
so
going to damage your show?
Can you ever have a show like I don't want to name him because he's already making so much money, but they're the top podcast show in the world today. Yeah.
Okay.
It's intelligent. He's got great guests on his show.
Yes.
But he doesn't hold back on his language, but it's not directed at anyone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just a matter of speaking, and it's expressive enough. But in the Singapore context, someone's going to come in. If it's going to be, if it's ever going to be regulated, it's kind of obvious.
Okay, let me ask you a question, Chris.
Wait, who was
you and I, Chris, have known each other for over 20 years.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
You know that outside, I embarrass sailors. I swear so much.
Yeah.
He does.
You know it. Glenn knows it. That is the way I speak.
But those are private closed door shows.
No, but when I'm on radio, I'm conscious and I don't do it. Does that diminish anything I do on radio? No.
Sure not. Of course not, because
the expletives do not diminish anything.
FD, those are closed door private shows, man. If your clients are okay with it, you know you're good to go. I do private shows too, you know that.
It's just something
even on
that
private
you
shows,
want to do.
I don't spew experience on doing private shows, and you know that as well, because
but you want to be able to do it. You want to be able to do it on a podcast.
Because I believe that in a podcast arena, you've got to be a lot more real. It's not about being controversial. It's about being more real.
So if you're saying you want to be real on a podcast and you need expletives, that means you're under control at a private function?
FD, what Chris is saying
I am under control in a private function because there are a lot of people...
that we are fake.
Yeah,
no, I'm not saying... Bullshit, Glenn. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that you have to be even more controlled because, as you said earlier, you've got to sign off on a whole stack of documents every quarter.
But it doesn't diminish our argument on radio. It doesn't diminish what we produce on radio.
You cannot. Okay, FD, I've said this many times. FD is the only guy I know who has pushed the envelope to use the word shit on air.
Yeah.
No, we use shit on air all the time.
All the time.
Okay,
Chris.
In the past, you don't hear that. But I'm kind of glad you guys are really pushing the envelope that way. I really have been. I've said this to FD many, many times. But the thing is this: in a podcast situation, the shows we have, we want people to talk. We want people to tell us more stuff. So it's literally coffee shop talk, right?
Yeah, but my point,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
it's coffee shop talk.
We approve. Glenn and the Flying Dutchman approve Copy with Chris. This is what we are saying.
I'm not looking, guys. I'm not looking for that, man. No. This is not the purpose of having you on my show.
We have done this long enough to recognize a good podcast from a crap podcast. What we're saying here is that we need to sift the bad podcasts, okay? People who are not taking their podcast seriously, people who have no idea what they're doing, people who could possibly open their mouths and say damaging things. This is what FD and myself are talking about, all right? So we need to find a way to get rid of all these people who are just doing it for the sake of doing it. They're not serious podcasters. We need to get the serious podcasters out of the system. This is what we're saying. If we
guys
like you will then have the freedom to do what you want to do.
Do you get what we mean here, Chris?
I do. So I'm going to then this is where I'm going to come to this bit here. It's not easy, I would suppose. Like we said, there will be some idiots who just spew their mouths off without really thinking, correct? Can we also boil it down that it's really not easy to discern what one should self-censor and what you should not, isn't it?
Well,
what do you think? What do you think about self-censorship?
You see,
I know you guys. Hang on, Glenn. Sorry, I know you guys got to sign off on this declaration every quarter. It gives you a whole list of things you cannot do, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I hope there's also things that you can do that's listed there. The thing is, what do you think? Therefore, now that it's not regulated, if you were to see a young, inexperienced guy behind a microphone, what would you tell him about how he should self-censor himself? What kind of guidance would you give this dude?
Okay, here's the thing. I don't think anyone who's just starting out, all right, having aspirations to be a radio presenter once upon a time and perhaps maybe now feeling like, radio presenting is a little passé. Maybe I should be a podcaster because, Joe Rogan makes $100 million a year now.
Are you talking about me, man?
No.
Fuck off, Glenn.
No, I'm not talking about you. You mentioned that. You know why I'm not talking about you? Because you mentioned a young guy. That's why.
Oh, okay. Again, fuck off, Glenn.
So what I'm saying here is that, okay, if a young person wants to start out being a podcaster, I think the majority of people who start out young will probably, top of mind, just want to be the most popular podcaster. And as I said, there are many ways to be popular. Okay, if the person is an intelligent young man, then maybe he'll have a nice, meaningful show. All right. But if a person who is maybe not that intelligent, wants to be a shock podcaster or whatever, he might go a different way.
Okay.
What I'm saying here is, okay, in terms of being a responsible podcaster, my fear is when people get political, when people get religious, when people get discriminatory, right?
Yeah.
That is when it becomes
objectifying, for example, women.
That's when it becomes dangerous. But I mean, objectifying women. Okay, let me just give you this example. Earlier on, you said Glenn is not a shock jock. Yeah. I beg to differ. I was a shock jock. I was.
No,
I was a Howard Stern.
We're closer. Come on, guys.
Okay. For me, if you say shock jock, I think of Howard Stern, right? And what was he about? What was he about? You tell me.
Controversy.
No. Howard Stern was about
he was
sex.
rude.
Howard Stern was about sex. No, there is a difference here, Chris.
Stirs up controversy.
Let me just tell you why. Okay? Now, Howard Stern was a shock jock because everything was sex. And I would just like to add that sex is missing on Singapore radio right now.
Yeah. Okay. But I'm pretty sure it's in one of your guidelines that you signed.
Of course, absolutely. Yeah. But I think it's the lesser of two evils. Okay? And the other evil being the things that could cause bad things to happen in our society. Sex never hurt anyone. Okay, so when I was doing a show with FD, Rod, myself, and all that, it was always focused on tits and ass. All right, okay. And I still love it.
Those were the good
if I were given the choice right now, although I'm turning 50, so maybe not appropriate. But when I was younger, when I was in my 20s, FD, Rod, myself, we went on air, and even I think when Joe was working with FD as well, there was always a sex element, to a breakfast show. I used to tell everyone, right, which breakfast show doesn't have sex on it? Sex is so important. I mean, and we were all about tits and ass, Rod and myself, and FD and everything. But of course, it went against the guidelines, of MDA. But during that whole period, we didn't give a shit. We just carried on, and we got fined and all that. And if any of our listeners back then are tuned into your show right now, Kopi with Chris, I am sure 100%. Okay, that they would go, that was the best time of our lives when we were listening to radio. All right? Because it was fun. It was good fun. And at the same time, it was harmless. What I'm saying here now is podcasting, when it comes to podcasting, many people touch on very serious topics. They touch on religion, they touch on politics, they touch on these things that in our Singapore context is dangerous. You were mentioning, I don't know whether you're referring to Joe Rogan earlier on, but in the States, they have their culture, right? Yeah. Freedom of speech and stuff like that. But in Singapore, we don't have that. It is much more sensitive here in Singapore than anywhere else. Yes, we get Stitcher on our, we've got apps, I listen to podcasts from around the world and all that. But what I'm saying here is that if you're a Singaporean and you are a podcaster, then I'm sorry. I feel that you should be under the guidelines, MDA guidelines or whatever, or perhaps maybe be registered as a podcaster, because we're not America. You know what I mean? We're not America. I really, really feel strongly that we should definitely be governed. Podcasters need to register themselves. I'm sorry. That's how I feel.
This is where
podcast
Glenn
podcast
is
goes
going.
out worldwide on the internet.
No,
Yeah,
but wait,
I
You
know.
know, regardless of whether you're a Singaporean or not, it's not just the Singaporean audience that you should be thinking about.
Yeah, but-
obviously.
But the thing here is that, Chris, based on what we're talking about today, and based on all the other podcasts, right, that have gone out, your guests and so on and so forth, you're
Yep.
not catering to an international audience.
You're not.
For those guys, of course not, because the language is just
Yeah,
no
but
one else can
even
understand
the
it.
stuff
majority-
you've talked about, even the stuff you've talked about here, you've talked
local.
about non-essential workers. You've talked about whether our government communicates properly with its citizens. You've talked about stuff like this. I'll be honest with you, a guy in America don't give a shit.
Yeah.
He don't give a shit. You are targeting a Singapore. You're targeting a Singapore audience, and these are very, as Glenn pointed out, these are very serious issues. Now, I want to bring up something that you mentioned in passing just now. Did you say that because podcasting is competition to radio? It's not.
No, it was just
Podcasting will never compete with radio
why?
because it's two different mediums. They live side by side. People
Okay.
have
So
a
you're
point-
saying
People have a point in their day where they will be able to listen to a podcast.
so?
But when they want that relaxation, when they want that kind of thing, until podcasts improve, when they want that sort of thing, they're going to go to radio. You
So
and I
FD,
know
are you
it.
saying there can be a symbiotic relationship of sorts?
Of course,
Yes.
absolutely.
And I'm glad you said that
Absolutely.
because I feel the same way.
We do podcasts
I asked that
as
question.
well.
It wasn't meant to wasn't entrapment. I wasn't trying to be. I wasn't trying to be smart. Yeah.
No,
Chris,
no.
understand
It was a
this.
real question.
We want podcasting and podcasters to live a long and prosperous life.
Okay.
Okay, and this is coming from two people who are experienced and who have done radio for a long time. Okay, and who are doing podcasts now as well. And we don't see you, for example, as competition.
People like you play a very important role in the media circle in Singapore. You do, but you must do it responsibly.
Responsibly. Okay.
But you play a really important role.
I just want to clarify and qualify again when I asked that question. It wasn't because I felt that we are competition. No. I just want to hear your opinion.
I brought that up because if anyone
glad
had
you
picked
did,
up
bro.
on it, they would have said no one had answered that question.
I'm glad.
But yeah, there is this great ability for us to live side by side.
Can I just ask you, but outside the podcast questions, let's leave that heavy topic. We started that shit. We started the show with this shit. It's so strong. Let's get down to something lighter. Yeah, I'm just gonna go one by one. I'm gonna go FD first because this one's good. I think it's good. I think this is gonna rattle you a little bit.
Okay.
FD, if you woke up tomorrow and realized that there's no such thing as an events MC or a radio DJ, what do you think you'd be doing?
I've already. I'd be playing with myself.
Left hand or right hand? Okay, never mind. Don't answer that. Okay.
Left hand, of course, he's a left-hander.
Hey, some of us have to use both hands.
Hey, you'd be surprised, man. You might be ambidextrous with certain things.
No, but it's interesting. It's interesting. I have a question in return to that. Would the internet still be around?
Okay, let's say it is.
I would probably do podcast.
So you would still get behind the microphone somehow.
No, I'm born
No matter
for that.
what.
I'm born for that. The only thing I will tell you that is, and Glenn Glenn knows this, if I had never gotten into this business,
Yeah.
I would have been a missionary.
A what?
A
Missionary.
I would have spread the word of God.
I just wanted to have all the viewers and listeners bloody hear that clearly. FD said missionary.
Not position, not position.
You read my mind.
Hey, but
I'm
Chris, let
talking
me just
about spreading the word of God.
let me just tell you, I've always pictured FD as a priest,
Yeah.
So imagine FD as a priest here in Singapore. He would have moved on and become the Archbishop of Singapore. And then he would have become eventually the Pope.
2 popes ago, he had a dream. No, 2 popes ago during conclave,
popes ago.
Glenn had a dream
I had a dream.
that I became Pope.
And you saw white smoke coming out of the chimney at the Vatican, huh?
Right.
Yes.
And I was on the balcony blessing everybody and giving away free gin and tonic,
That's
boy.
true. I saw
But right
that.
now, FD is
I
a
saw-
propien, bro. Okay, I mean, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to our
No.
pontiff, but
No.
but this is just meant for FD. He would have.
But
Yeah, I am a bit of a
bro.
pope,
If
yeah.
you look at FD's face, FD looks a little bit like Pope Francis, huh?
No
And if you-
lah.
and- hey, wait. And now without the hair, I can be a monk.
I think I was just about to ask which order would you be with? I would think the Franciscans or
The
Dominicans.
Franciscans or Dominican monk, you know?
Dominicans, sorry. I said Dominicans, I'm thinking cigars. Okay.
that's right.
Now, so Glenn, what would you do if you woke
Yeah.
up tomorrow and realized there's no such thing as an events MC or a radio DJ?
I'll be a professional golfer, lah. Of course. I mean,
You that good,
Have you seen
Well,
Glenn
looks
play
you that
golf?
good, really, yeah.
Whoa, full.
let's just say I hit the ball all over the place. Huh?
But seriously, you want to be a pro golfer if these jobs don't exist.
Well, I really enjoy just being out there. You know what I mean? So I've played many sports, but I think golf relaxes me. So yeah, I'm really bad at golf, but I just love the sport.
It was Andre that got you onto that thing.
I
huh?
know
th-
that
this-
freak. Let me just tell you, Chris, he's a freak. We're all from St. Patrick's School, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
which boy from St. Patrick's School takes up golf?
Rod Montero. We all know that.
No, see,
Okay.
that's very
A lot
strange.
later.
That's very strange. That's very strange that Rod actually took up golf.
But he
Yeah.
took up golf a
Rod-
lot
I thought-
later.
No,
a
but I
lot
thought
later.
I thought Rod would become a long distance runner. Ask me why.
Why?
Ask me why, Chris.
Why?
You see the
Why?
size of his ankles or not?
Actually, he's got bloody thick legs, man.
No, but he's got these thick legs and then they
Skinny
come down into
ankles now.
ankles that are so
We used-
small.
We used to
They're
call
like
him skinny
long-distance
ankles.
Thick legs, not skinny ankles. Nah, it's not that
ankles.
bad, lah, Rod.
Yeah, his
Alright,
ankles
he
are
is,
as skinny as Florence Griffith Joyner. If you remember that name.
Man. Unbelievable.
Yeah, actually, I do. Florence Griffith Joyner, yeah. And we have this segment that we call the, because I know you guys have got something else that you got to do.
Yep.
And I'm just going to go through this segment.
It's just another party that we have to go to, Anila.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Another
sure.
drinking
I feel
party,
so
drinking
sad
party.
for you clowns. See, can you show that fancy coffee thing that you received?
So, this is called Kopi with Chris. And Chris, show your coffee mug.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Here we
Now
go.
take-
He's gonna
now
do
take
this
a
shit.
look at
He
mine.
does this shit all. He does this to me all the time. You see? Huh? You had just
My God.
Emily has always got to do something that's a lot more upstagey, and then who the hell drinks coffee coming up from something like that?
Well, you see,
The Flying Dutchman. He's the one that does.
Let me put
you
it
know.
to you this way. I put it to you this way. You have the body, I have the belly. You have the cup, I've got the box. Simple.
Hey, I think this fella is getting paid now. He just advertised for Swiss Bake right there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Can you shut up? I just slipped it in, I just
You know the
slipped
producers
it in.
watching this show, right? Now, producers, producer, you might just want to talk to Swiss Bake after this. Yeah.
Just to
Thanks
let
so
you know,
very much. We just
They have new products that they want to push, so maybe you want to talk to them.
What?
Okay,
Hot cross
hello,
buns,
hello.
Hot cross buns.
Okay, Happy
they got a lot
TV, you
of
heard
Swiss
that, huh? Happy TV, yeah. Okay, Swiss Bake, yeah. I'm not going to say that word again unless they pay. Okay, now this segment is called the Quick Fire segment.
Okay.
It's a kind of a staple to end the show. So it's a couple of questions we're going to ask. Simple questions. Give me quick answers. Okay.
Okay.
I will go with
starts?
Glenn.
Okay.
I'll go with Glenn first.
Okay.
Oh yeah, this one everybody. I know it, but the probably listeners and viewers don't. So which secondary school came from?
Tun Sri Ladang. Okay,
You
St. Patrick's
swine.
School. St. Patrick's School.
Thank you. He said St. Patrick's School. I said we came from the same school, and it's not Tun Sri Lanang, okay? My goodness. Okay, FD,
Yes.
which secondary school?
St. Joseph's Institution.
Boo!
Hey,
almost
but,
forgot.
it's the Bras Basar Road one, okay? The
Yeah,
real
okay,
one.
you got to qualify
The
that.
real
huh?
one.
The real one is Bras Basar Road.
Real one, okay?
The one where you chase after the ones in the school that's now chimes. Lah.
No, the ones where you had history lesson and you could eat during the lesson because the teacher was so lenient. It was good.
You know, guys, you know something is really funny? I've said this to FD a couple of times. You can't put two St. Pat's boys together to do something like a job or a business. It's very hard. They end up fighting like hell.
Yeah.
But it's so funny that the rivals, St. Pat's and SJI, they're really rivals. We know that, right?
Yeah.
But when they come together to do work, man,
It-
they're
it-
good, you know.
it does- it
It's
does
really
work.
weird, man. It's weird. No, I've said this to FD a couple of times. You know, I've seen so many people who are from SGI and St. Pat's come together and they do beautifully.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
see two St. Pat's boys coming together and it's a bloody explosion. Nah.
Yeah, the other two that you don't want to get together on radio particularly is two Eurasian boys, because that's a court case waiting to happen.
But that's going to be a damn fun show, I can tell you
It
that.
would be.
Yeah. Okay,
Next one.
Glenn. Next question.
Okay.
Trump or Biden?
Biden.
What? You really said that? I thought your president of the United States is the orange fella.
No lah. That's why you see so many people take me seriously. Every time I go like, the president of the, I still get complaints, I still get complaints from people. These are the idiots,
Really?
you see. 5 years I've been doing this, and they still think that
They still
my
don't get it.
president is President Trump. Oh my goodness.
So you say Biden, yeah?
Biden.
Okay, FD, Trump or Biden?
Biden. Who wants an orange
Oh,
president?
bloody staying it safe lah. It was staying safe. You playing the whole damn thing safe. Biden. Okay, next one. Next one. This one a bit closer to home. Glenn,
Yeah.
Heng Swee Keat or Taman?
Heng Swee Keat.
FD?
They're not gonna like this. Taman. I've always
You guys are
wanted
not
him to be
bound by
prime
that.
minister.
By that thing you signed, right? For
I know,
podcast.
but
No,
right?
no. Okay, I
No,
just want
I've
to say
always,
this again.
I've always wanted Taman as prime minister. Always.
Can I just say this? I've not met Minister Taman, but I love Minister Taman. Based on what I see, based on what I hear, and all that.
I feel
But
you,
don't
man.
know,
I
but
feel
deep
you.
down inside of me, I don't know why. I just feel like, okay, when we're talking about Prime Minister, Heng Swee Keat.
You know why?
That's
I'll
all
be
I-
honest with you.
I just
think
again playing it
because-
safe again.
No, I think I'll be honest. Okay, you don't want me to play safe? I'll tell you why it won't be Taman. Because
Okay.
we're an aging population and the older generation of Singaporeans is not ready for a prime minister who is not Chinese.
Oh, no, FD is playing it safe. All right.
No, it's true. It's a fact.
We're
It's
playing
a
it
fact.
safe. Okay, I'm not gonna go into that. But I'm just saying, you're playing it safe. Moving along.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, this one, I tell you, I definitely know FD's answer, okay? I know. So I'm going to ask Glenn first.
Okay.
I'm going to give you 3 brands. Shure, Rode, or Sennheiser?
Bear Dynamic.
Full. Well done, Glenn.
I didn't see that one coming. Okay.
Yeah.
FD,
Bear,
Shure,
Bear.
Rode, or Sennheiser?
Sennheiser.
See? I knew it. Chris, FD.
Sure.
Thank you very much, man. That's
Always,
why. Here you
always,
go.
always.
Yes.
Yeah.
Road.
No. He
I don't know.
needed
See
a mic-
properly, that eh? See
he needed a
properly.
microphone.
Road. You cannot. This one is road.
He needed a microphone as old as his bones.
These bones not old. Okay.
Okay.
Hey, how come Glenn all of a sudden he's still short? No.
No,
Look at
because
Glenn
you
now,
see, he's reaching his 50th birthday very shortly. So
now he's not still. The moment he said 50, the burger came back to life,
Get back to
boss.
life. Yeah.
Okay.
What happened? What did I
You
miss?
froze
It
for a
just
while.
froze.
You froze
I know.
for a
I
while.
did.
Yeah, you froze, dude. And we were just talking shit behind your back, but never mind.
What's
No.
your brand? I missed that. What's your brand?
Sennheiser.
His is Sennheiser, mine is Shure.
And,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I
And yours
looked
is
at that mic and I knew
some
sure.
yours or some Baygon or something like that.
Don't
Yeah.
say that, lah.
yo.
Oh,
Dynamic
okay,
rocks.
all right, fine. Yeah. Producers, you're not going to be chasing them for sponsorship, right? You can't anymore because I just screwed it up. Now,
Yeah.
FD,
Ah.
if you wake up tomorrow and Liverpool never existed, who do you think your favorite team would be?
Oh, I know that without a doubt. If I woke up tomorrow and Liverpool did not exist, Manchester United would be my favorite team.
Yeah.
Whoa. This one, we bring up the volume post-production, okay, to make sure everybody hears that, especially Liverpool fans. Okay, Glenn,
only-
if you
the
woke up
only-
tomorrow And Man United never existed. Who do you think your favorite team would be?
Ipswich Town.
Oxford United. Oxford United.
You know, I want to say this, Glenn Ong, I don't believe at all that you are a Man United fan, okay?
Don't say that. lah.
No. You and I go back a very long way.
Ask
and
me
the
what was my
number
first
one-
team.
What?
Ask me what was my first team.
Everton.
No.
Come on.
No. Everton was not my
Gary
first team.
Lineker was someone you idolized, okay?
No.
Well, he played
Everton
for
was
this
not his
team as
favourite
well
team.
eventually. But my first team was not Everton. My first team was Spurs.
Spurs.
Really?
Yeah. Ask me what my second team was.
Chelsea.
No. My
Then?
second team was Ipswich Town.
Oh, crap.
Yeah,
And then
seriously.
after that, was there another one?
Everton.
Well, you see this guy and his
And then it
allegiances?
was and then it was Arsenal.
Can't trust you.
And
Yeah.
then Man United.
See, can't trust you, man. Then what's going to happen in the next 5 years? You're
No,
going to just
you
swap
can't
teams
trust
again.
me because I'm honest. I'm telling you this right
So
now.
this question I just asked you, forget it. No point. Oxford, what? United? Really?
Yeah.
Okay. FD,
Yeah.
what is the one thing you have ticked off your bucket list and one thing that you haven't?
One thing I've ticked off my bucket list is to climb Machu Picchu. One thing I haven't ticked off my bucket list is to do a pilgrimage to Israel.
Okay. Glenn, what have you ticked off your bucket list?
To get married 3 times.
I gotta admit, I didn't see that shit coming too.
I'm stopping it. Stopping at 3. Yeah.
What is the one thing you haven't ticked off? This I gotta hear, man.
See, now he's thinking. He doesn't know what to say.
Glenn Ong, I can die with this guy. Yeah.
Okay. Climbing Mount Everest.
Oh, shut up, you.
I'm serious.
Not gonna
I'm serious.
happen.
You know, I actually thought about doing that, right? But then,
Okay.
you know, it's just that I feel like I'm too old.
No, I tell you what, Glenn, my father-in-law did it when he was in his 60s. He climbed to the base camp.
He
Yeah?
did.
Yeah. And
Wow.
he was in his 60s when he did it.
Okay,
I'm scared, lah. I'm scared.
we
Once you go down there,
throw this boy a challenge, lah. Huh? We throw this boy a challenge. This because we gotta help this guy get check this off his bucket list.
Yeah, I think we
So why
started
do we
with Kota Kinabalu first.
yeah, I was thinking that. Let's just test me out first.
Okay,
Kota
before you collect the
Kinabalu.
CPF, at 55, climb Everest. How's that?
I'm scared, lah, Chris. You know, I mean, I'm
Why?
honest like that. I'm scared.
Will Jean
I'm
watch
scared.
the show? Will Jean watch this show? Because Jane, if Glenn climbs Mount Everest before he collects a CPF at 55, just make sure that you're the next nomination in his CPF account.
Bloody
Okay? Make sure who do you nominate for my as beneficiary. Yeah. But then again, why not, man? Before you collect the CPF, climb Mount Everest and check that damn thing off the bucket list. Right? Okay, couple of last questions. Promise you it's gonna end really, really soon. FD,
Nah.
what's your least favorite song of all time?
Wow. Oh, umbrella, Ella, umbrella,
I knew
Ella.
it. Glenn, what's your least favorite song of all time?
Everybody by the Backstreet Boys.
Oh. I can't stand that either, man. Yikes. Okay. Now, this is the last one. Very last one. FD, humor me, okay? Just this time, just humor me.
Okay.
Can Glenn, can Short Fart and Jose Juan Believable tell everyone on this show to like, share, and subscribe to Kopi with Chris,
Oh my
wherever they're
God!
catching us from.
DJ Short Fat in the house.
Ladies
Come
and
on, Jose.
gentlemen, Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to tell you that this show with this Chris is called Copy and Chris. You have to like it. You have to share it. You know why? Because the stars in the sky, I saw them through my roof last night. They say, hold up, Jew. You have to like and you have to share the show because the show is so good. And if you don't share the show, this Chris, he going to beat the shit out of me.
I completely agree. I endorse this show, Copy with Chris, because I think it has a local flavor to it. Okay, although this fellow looks like Mak Saleh, he is actually 100% Singaporean. All right, so please subscribe to Copy with Chris.
Thank you very much, guys. And you know something? To get FD to just give us one more time, one round of Jose Unbelievable, I cannot believe they actually did it. Thanks, brother.
No worries, my friend. No worries.
Really, guys.
Do you want him to do it again or not on 1FM's number one breakfast show?
I've been telling him.
Okay. He'll consider
FD, brother, you know I've been telling you, bring back Jose, right?
I tell you what. Tonight I will lie on my bed, on my beautiful satin sheets. I will look through my glass roof at the stars. If the stars tell me that I have to do it, then I have to do it. But it will be in the hands of the stars.
I tell you, man, Jose Unbelievable is bloody priceless.
You know what, Chris Henson? Chris Henson, I will tell the bosses at SPA Radio, namely my general manager, Mr. Sim Hong Huat, to make sure that he does Jose Unbelievable on the show, and he will have no choice.
I completely agree. You should talk to Huat and tell him to make sure it happens. Really, man. Well, I just love that. Thanks, FD. I love that one, really.
No worries, bro.
Okay, that was Glenn the Flying Dutchman. Thank you guys for being with Copy with Chris, having Copy with me. We know today it's Friday, 19th of June, 2020. Why am I saying that? Because this Sunday is a very, very special day. So viewers and listeners, remember, it's easier to be a father than to be a dad. So happy Daddy's Day to all our daddies. Until next time. Yay! Happy Daddy's Day. Until this has been Copy with Chris. Until next time, stay safe and enjoy the weekend and enjoy Phase 2. See you guys.